What's going on, guys? Welcome to another day at the Adventure Outpost. In today's adventure, we are going back into another episode of Does It Hold Up? And we are looking at the 2004 adventure film The Day After Tomorrow. But first, before we dive into this episode, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on any new awesome videos. But now, let's dive into the age-old existential question of, does it hold up? And the short answer is yes and no. Yes, in the fact that I continue to watch this movie year after year, so it has to be doing something right. And no, in the fact that even though I do watch it year after year, I am fully aware that this movie is absolute nonsense. But that's the beauty of film. Sometimes even a mediocre one can stand the test of time. And I wouldn't say that Day After Tomorrow is technically a cult movie, but it has definitely stood the test of time. At least for me. Directed by the king of entertaining disaster films, Roland Emmerich, The Day After Tomorrow depicts catastrophic climate change following the disruption of the North Atlantic Ocean circulation, which ushers in a new ice age. We follow Dennis Quaid as he treks through this hellish landscape to save his son, Jake Gyllenhaal, who is stranded in the heart of the storm in New York City. The film was a commercial success, becoming the sixth highest grossing film of 2004 and opened to mixed reviews upon release, with critics praising the film's special effects but criticizing its writing and numerous scientific inaccuracies. Which, looking back on, seems like a real nitpicky thing to complain about. It's a fiction movie. As long as it's entertaining and the science makes sense for what the movie is presenting, who gives a shit if the science is realistic or not? If I wanted reality, I wouldn't be watching a movie. And man, did they really go in on this movie for its scientific inaccuracies. I mean, they even had one scientist, Patrick J. Michaels, going as far as to say that the movie was pure propaganda, using lies as science to influence political discourse. Like, for fuck's sake, man, it's just a movie. Most of you will know Roland Emmerich from his most famous film, Independence Day, and he continues adding to his wheelhouse with another visually epic disaster film that takes sheer delight in destroying as many things as possible. And he really wrings the tension out of a lot of these scenes. There are two really awesome set pieces in this film that have you on the edge of your seat. When the tidal wave first hits New York City, and when Jake Gyllenhaal and his buddies sneak onto a derelict boat to find medicine for one of their sick friends. The man knows how to stage action, and he does so with aplomb. It's why he continues to this day to create some of the most audacious disaster films around. The man knows how to entertain from Independence Day to 2012. The acting is about as standard as you get in a film like this. It's not what draws you in, but it helps that there's great actors here to help sell the terror going on around them. And the trio of leads in Quaid, Gyllenhaal, and Emmy Rossum all do a fine job of selling this horrific scenario. It's the best kind of summer movie you could hope for. One that you can just turn your brain off and enjoy CGI mayhem for 2 hours. Now let's break this script down. Dennis Quaid and his team drill for ice core samples in Antarctica when the ice shelf suddenly splits away and almost swallows them whole. Which is a pretty cool opening image. Like, it's a lot of fun. The way they have to like try and save the research from being like lost in this ice shelf. So it's a cool opening scene. Definitely sets the stage for what's to come. At a UN conference, Dennis Quaid discusses his research showing that if they don't curb climate change, they could be facing another ice age. And of course, nobody believes him. The vice president even tells him, fuck off. Like I've been hearing this for how long? Like, we ain't doing this again. We're introduced to our players. We meet a professor in Scotland that befriends Quaid because of his research, the one man who believes him. We meet Quaid's son, Jake Gyllenhaal, who's going on a school trip to New York and has a tenuous relationship with his father. The weather worsens around the world. That's simple as that. Tokyo is struck by a giant hailstorm. Nova Scotia has a storm surge. A helicopter team crashes in Scotland after all their fuel lines freeze. And probably in the best scene of the catalyst is LA is absolutely decimated by tornadoes, which is a really fun scene. Dennis Quaid argues with the vice president and warns them of what's going to continue to happen, and they agree to order the southern states to be evacuated to Mexico. But because of their failure to act in the theme stated, all the northern states are doomed to the superstorm. Gyllenhaal is in New York for an academic decathlon where he hopes to get closer to his teammate, Emmy Rossum. The weather becomes violent as time goes on, and they are caught in the massive tsunami like storm surge that hits Manhattan, which is an absolutely awesome scene with them trying to get out of Manhattan as the tsunami comes and hits. And then Gyllenhaal and his friends are forced to seek shelter at the New York Public Library, but not before Emmy Rossum cuts her leg. Hold on to that. That's foreshadowing. And then, thanks to the library's payphones, Gyllenhaal is able to contact his dad to find out what to do. And Quaid tells him to remain inside, keep everyone safe, and he will come and rescue them. Professor in Scotland waits out the storm with his team, but they soon learn it's a losing effort and they will not survive the oncoming storm. Quaid's wife also remains at the hospital she works at, caring for the bedridden children waiting to be evacuated. So that's like a small little scene just to keep her character invested in the movie, since obviously they've already introduced her, but she doesn't really have much to do other than just sit around and hope that an ambulance comes and picks up her and these kids that she's waiting with. So that's nonsense. But, it's the B story. Helps round out the world. We follow Dennis Quaid as he rounds up his team and they head through the storm towards New York. And then we follow Jake Gyllenhaal and his friends as they have a fun little book burning scene to stay warm. And they go through the merits of what books can and can't be burned. Everyone discovers that Emmy Rossum has developed blood poisoning from her cut, and that the only way to treat her is with medicine. So Gyllenhaal and his friends sneak onto a vessel that has drifted into the city for penicillin. Meanwhile, Quaid and his team have made it as far as they can in the car and must now progress on foot if they are to make it to New York. While searching for medicine on the ship, a pack of wolves show up looking for food. Wolves that escaped from the Central Park Zoo. So that's a nice little payoff to that plant earlier on in the movie where it shows the wolves have escaped from the zoo. Which leads to an awesome, cool little, escape scene where they have to fight off the wolves and find the penicillin. Meanwhile, Quaid and his team are trekking across the snow and one of his teammates falls through the skylight of a mall that they had been walking over. And then to save the whole team from falling in with him and perishing, he cuts the rope, sacrificing himself so the others could live. The all is lost / finale / break into three / the whole last 20 minutes, because the one bad thing I can say about the script writing in this movie is that there isn't really a set finale, and this wolf scene doesn't really feel like the finale, but so it just gets all roped into one. But Gyllenhaal and his friends evade the wolves, they gather the supplies, and now they have to race back to the library as the eye of the storm threatens to freeze Manhattan solid. And they make it to the library in the warmth of the fire just in time and throw books upon books onto the fire to keep it burning and keep them alive. Likewise, Quaid and his remaining team members take shelter in an abandoned restaurant as the eye of the storm hits them. Days pass, but the superstorm dissipates, and Quaid and his ally make it to New York City and find his son and friends very much alive. Rescue helicopters are being sent north to find as many survivors as possible. Mexico opens its borders for all fleeing refugees, and on the International Space Station, the astronauts look down on a changed Earth where ice sheets extend across the northern hemisphere.
For the most part, this is a well-structured movie. All the beats hit, and while the dialogue can be clunky at times, and the finale doesn't feel so much like a finale, the film still works in the long run. The father-son relationship is the core of the film. It took Gyllenhaal living through this ordeal and using the things his father taught him for him to realize just how much of an influence his father had on him, even if he wasn't always there. It's a solid blockbuster film, and that's really all you can ask for at the end of the day.
This is another movie I still have my ticket for. Saw this movie with my buddies Big Jim and Ryan. And if you look at that right there, saw it theater number 1, 4 o'clock, May 28th, 2004. It was the start of Memorial Day weekend, and it was a hell of a way to start the party. Thanks for watching, guys. Look forward to the next time we return for Does It Hold Up, where we dive into the first weekend release of June, the third film in a massively big franchise, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. But until next time, adventure on.